Welcome back, fellow shop rats. Today on Talk About It Tuesday, we're going to talk about how we fund all of the projects we have here on the channel. There's things that maybe you can apply to the stuff you're doing. Let's watch the show intro. We'll see you in 5 seconds. I'm Mike.
This is My Cars Shop.
We obviously have a lot of projects on the channel, that's for sure, and it could give the appearance that I have a really deep pocket and a really big bank account to fund all of this stuff. But if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you'll know that's really not true, and I do things very much on a very, very limited budget. But I've still never really talked about the bigger picture of how we make all of this stuff happen. So that's the subject for today's Talk About It Tuesday. There are about 4 different ways that we fund everything that's going on here, and everybody here on the channel is a big part of that in many different ways. First of all, let me clarify that I spend very little of the family household budget on any of the projects that I'm working on. Now let me go way back in time and talk about how I've always done this, because it definitely applies to what I'm doing today. First of all, let me say that I've never spent much of the family budget on any of the toys and shop stuff. And once in a while, maybe some equipment or supplies. And yeah, once in a while I will dip in if I have a little extra cash or some birthday money or some Christmas money. But for the most part, all of the projects are either self-funded or funded in other means. So first of all, let me talk about self-funded, which means that I've had a car, I have a car, I sell a car to fund another project. For example, when I sold my 1931 Ford, I used the revenue that came from that project to purchase the 1947 Ford that I have now, as well as do a bunch of upgrades on the 68 Pro Street Dart GTS. So that was kind of a self-funded thing. The second way that I've funded a lot of the stuff is through a side hustle. I, over the years, have spent a lot of time either fixing cars or painting cars or whatever on the side to generate revenue so that I could buy the parts and supplies or whatever I need to be able to work on the projects. Now remember, one of the reasons I do things the way I do is because I don't have much money, and that is why we fabricate so many things and don't just go out and throw a whole bunch of money at it, because I've never been that guy, and even if I had millions of dollars, I still doubt that I would be that guy. Now, you know that we definitely try to demonstrate many different techniques and so forth on the channel, and there's some stuff coming about some of the projects in the future that I will talk about, but that's not today's subject. So side hustle is definitely one. Another one is barter. I'll use the $500 paint job that I'm doing on that 86 Dodge truck as an example. You've noticed that I've received a lot of parts for the Challenger. Well, this truck project is part of that payment for those parts. My buddy has a whole bunch of parts that he isn't going to use, and he didn't have the funds to pay to get a truck painted, so we decided that it was a fair and equitable, a good exchange to me do a paint job for him and him provide me with some parts for the Challenger. So bartering. My buddy John and I have done the same thing. He wants me to do some paint work on his 66 Belvedere, and we've definitely done a bunch of body work and some other things on that car as well. And when I was looking for another project, he said, hey, what about that 67 Belvy that I got out there? That'd be perfect. It'd be a great car to build a drag car out of. So that's a barter deal. There was no cash involved at all. Even when there is cash, it's usually very, very minimal. I'll use stitches as an example because I've been pretty transparent about that project right from the beginning. I only paid $300 for that car. Some people would say that was too much, but if you know anything about e-body Mopars, they're bringing big, stupid money. And so one thing that I do to save a whole pile of money is I just watch and look for deals that I think I can't pass up. I mean, I never pay much more than a couple $100 for a project. Even the 68 Dart GTS Pro Street car, I didn't pay over $1,000 for when I bought that car. Now, granted, I've had that car for a long time, and that car was in pretty darn good shape, but a big chunk of that price on that car when I got it was the narrowed rear end that came with it. It wasn't in it, but it was definitely with it. Another way that we generate energy, I will say, that we generate parts, that we generate stuff that we need for the projects is just through simply trading. Hey, I've got this and you've got that, and hey, I don't need this and you don't need that, but you need this and I need that, and how about we work out a trade? Now, one of the things that has amazed me in the last few years, and we are entering into season 4 here of My Car Shop on YouTube, is the number of people, particularly locally, but also in other places, who say, hey, I really believe in what you're doing and I want to help out. I'll make you a trade, and for this thing that's got quite a bit of value for that thing that you have that doesn't have quite as much value. And yeah, the deals can be upside down sometimes, but it's because you guys support the channel, and it's just so humbling and amazing that you guys would be willing to do that and help support. And of course, that leads me into another way since I've been doing YouTube in the last few years is you guys just send me stuff. You see something that I need. Bill up in Canada sends me stuff all the time for the Challenger. Eric sent me a wonderful console top that I can use as a pattern to make the one that I need. I'm going to forget people. My neighbor, Paulie, he brings parts down. He brought me fenders. He brought me seats. He's brought me all kinds of other stuff for the Challenger because he sees the channel, he watches the show, and he says, hey, I've got stuff that Mike can use. And then, of course, there's other stuff, and I'm not intending to exclude anybody. And if I have, I completely apologize. It's just I'm thinking off the top of my head. So if you want to see who all supports the channel, watch the end of the show, and you'll see all of the people who support the channel in one way or another. And of course, there are some of you who just send cash money or have bought some pretty pricey items or donated some pretty pricey items for the channel. My anonymous donor who donated the rotisserie for the channel, Brad who donated the 73 scoop swinger to the channel, and others who send money on a regular basis to help fund the channel. It's amazing, and you guys give me the energy to keep after it and to keep working at it and to keep doing the stuff that I do. And so it's a very, to me, it's a very humbling but very...
You guys enable me in my dysfunction is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not intending this to be an all-inclusive way, and I'm sure I'm not thinking of other things besides what I've mentioned. And we'll go through quickly the list, but the last one is just simply YouTube revenue. We're not making a ton of money. On good months, I make $75 a month. On not so good months, I'm making around $35 a month. So on average, I'm making $50 or $60 a month, and have been since last June on the channel. So that's not a lot of money, but you know what? Every little bit helps. And of course, as the channel continues to grow, that ad revenue will continue to grow as well. And it's much, much appreciated. The fact that you guys watch, the longer you watch, the more you let the ads play, all that stuff. And I know many of you do that intentional to help me generate some more revenue for the channel. And it is so greatly appreciated.
Well, let's recap.
We might sell a project.
We barter.
We trade.
We do side hustle.
We have wonderful YouTube supporters.
And we have YouTube revenue.
So now we're not talking that we're generating, tens of thousands of dollars a year, obviously, but when you do things on the cheap, like I do, it doesn't take a huge amount of money to make things happen. And even the smallest donation or the smallest gift makes such a massive, massive difference in my ability to move forward. So I say that to say thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all of your amazing support. We're just a little, we're a little pimple on a flea's tail end here on YouTube. And the support and the encouragement that you guys give is just mind-blowing. I can't emphasize that enough, how utterly humbled and thankful and grateful I am to each and every one of you. I read every single comment. I try to respond to everybody. I don't know where that threshold is that I'll no longer be able to do that. But I know Becky and I have talked about, when it gets to that point, that she'll be able to probably jump in and help with some response and things like that, and call things that to my attention that need. And so we have a plan for growth. I would obviously like to see us have hundreds of thousands of subscribers on the channel.
I have plans, is what I'm trying to say.
I do not take for granted, all the way back to our very first subscribers. And some of you I'm definitely in communication with on a regular basis. And thank you. I can't say it enough. Thank you. You make this happen. And mind blown, 100% mind blown that you guys would be so just over the top supportive. So here's what you guys can do for me right this minute. And it's maybe not what you think. I'd like you to drop it down there in the comments how you find creative ways to fund your projects. What are creative ways that you find to get what you need to move forward without just throwing money at stuff? Because that's really what this channel is about. It's about thinking outside the box.
Is there a box?
It's about doing things differently than most people do. Yeah, there's a lot of naysayers and mockers and scoffers, and you know what we've said about that. But I'd love for you to, fill in some blanks and give me some ideas of other things that I can do that maybe I haven't thought of before about how we can generate more revenue here. And just more stuff is what I'm trying to say. So, all right, that'll do it for this one. We're over on the Face thing, You thing. We're on You thing. Instagram loves us and does the cookie thing, and snickerdoodles and chocolate chips, and no oatmeal raisin, please. So we'll catch you on the next one. Oh, rock!